Hi all, my name is Phil Muir. I am a totally blind user of access technology. I have been involved in testing products for the last 20 years, primarily music technology related stuff, but also sort of laterally doing a bit of app testing on Android as well. Most recently, I was privileged to work with a number of other visually impaired and blind people with Ableton on making Ableton fully or very, very accessible on Windows and Mac. And I have to say that they've done an incredible job on this. I got the Kemper thinking, I'm not sure how accessible it's going to be, but I don't really care because I want to have a Kemper. And I had a friend sort of programming it up remotely for me. And then I discovered when he was doing it that actually, I think this is a lot more accessible than I thought. But there are some issues, and I was actually quite concerned to read on your forum that a blind guitarist friend of mine has actually sold his Kemper because he was frustrated with the access in Rig Manager. And I can see why. And I'm going to show you why I think he may have come to the conclusion that he came to. And Chris, if you're watching this, I really hope you consider getting another Kemper. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but hey, that's up to you. Anyway, let me show you where we currently are with this. So I'm going to just change my screen.
New speech display.
So you guys can see my display, and you can also hear the screen reader, which is important because you're then able to hear the access that I'm listening to.
Performance is left parent mic.
Right, so we're in the Rig Manager now. I'd already opened it up. And let me see here.
Drag window.
Here we go. So one of the issues I've found, I create a little script that drags the window. And the reason I had to do that is because, as you will know, there are performance modes. You've got 5 slots. You can populate those slots. That's fine. But there are only like 4 of them visible on screen at a time, I think. So what I've had to do is create this button here, and if I right click on it,
right click, context menu, S, scroll here, S, top, T, bottom, B, page up, P, page down.
And I've found that if I choose page down from the menu, so I don't even have to drag with a mouse or anything, that works. So it could be as simple as you guys adding page up, page down as keyboard support for that part of the window. And that would allow us to then easily populate those performances. The other thing I've found as well is that when I'm looking at rigs, I don't think the properties for the objects that are in the window have been appropriately labeled, because as I'm left arrowing and right arrowing, it is changing the rigs, but they don't speak. So that would suggest that those have not been labeled. Now, obviously, if you label all these things and you add all these buttons and you add all the support, then you get a double whammy, because not only that, you'll probably get more sales. In fact, I know of somebody who is already looking at buying a Kemper, just primarily on what I've shown him. But also from your point of view as developers, you will be able to conduct in-house app testing on the Rig Manager app and do automated testing on it, because obviously you can run a bunch of tests overnight, see if all the buttons are doing what they should be doing, etc., etc. So yeah, you get a double bonus. If you add screen reader support that works right across the app, then that's a win-win for you guys, really.
Leaving menu.
Right, so that would be one of Chris's frustrations, I suspect. Here's another one. When you open Rig Manager, although you have keyboard support for inputs, outputs, all of the stomp boxes, slots, etc., you have no way of getting to that part of the window and no way of waking that keyboard support up. So as a blind user, I could come in here and press number 1, for example, to get to slot 1, but it's not going to do anything. And that's understandable, because obviously if you're in performance mode or rig mode, you don't want it to do that, because you might just be left arrowing around, right arrowing around or whatever. But you do need that support to get to those parts of the window. So what I've done here is I've created what I call a presets button, and that's primarily what it is. You guys could do the same. You could just, instead of having a script, you could have, like I've done here, Control-Shift-P. If I press it now,
context menu, N, natural reverb presets submenu, N.
I can see that I've got natural reverb up here. That's slot 8 that I'm located over at the moment. I remember that now. If I press R for reverb,
spring reverb submenu, reverb checked sub.
just actually pressed escape because I wanted to come back a step and show you this, because this is important. This is all being done by the Juice API, I suspect, because I did notice that you've programmed this in Juice.
Pitch reverb checked submenu.
It says reverb checked, so I can see there's a little tick by that one.
Spring reverb submenu. Natural reverb checked submenu.
Natural reverb, so I can see that I've loaded a natural reverb because of the little tick there.
Load type L. Load defaults L. Concert hall, big hall, club, room, cave, C.
Can't see which one I've loaded though. So again, if you could possibly label up the properties for that, that would be useful, because then obviously I'd know which reverb I've got loaded there.
Natural leaving menu.
So I'm going to just demonstrate this as one other quick example here for our blind and visually impaired friends who might be watching this video, just to show you that this actually does work. So if I press slot 1, which is number 1 on the numbers row, and this is proper Kemper support that they've put in here. And then if I press this presets button again,
context menu, dash empty dash, wah submenu, distortion submenu, booster submenu.
These are all the menus. I know one of them is checked, so I'm just going to arrow down so we can see which one it is.
Shaper submenu, S. Equalizer submenu, E. Compressor submenu, C. Noise gate checked submenu.
Noise gate. Okay, let's have a look, see which one we got in here.
Noise gate.
Press enter on that.
Noise gate 2, 1 checked submenu. N.
Noise gate 2 to 1. Okay.
Load type, load defaults, L.
Again, I can't see which one I've got, but the cool thing is I can now populate all of these slots with different effects. I can change the inputs and outputs, and then once I've got the effect into the slot, what I tend to do is edit on the unit, because that's a bit easier, really. I mean, in practice, you might be able to make all of these sliders and things more accessible for amps and so on. But I think a good start really would be if we had, say, I don't know, Control Shift 1 through 5. That's going to be Command on the Mac for the 5 slots, for example. That would give us access. But the big one really as well is this presets button, because if you don't have that, you can't actually use. You can't populate the slots, even though you've got keyboard support for the slots, inputs, outputs, amps, cabinets, etc. Just general keyboard support for the actual app would be good. For example, I think reading around it, you've got different parts of the window. You've got the rig editor, which is, I guess, where I am now, but there's not like a keystroke to jump you between the rig editor, the kind of rig manager part of the window, or whatever that is. I mean, obviously you will know this stuff better than I do, because you guys program the app. And as I say, I would be very happy to sit down with somebody from Kemper on a video call and show this to you, and maybe get you to TeamViewer in and show me what you can do. I mean, there are other things I've been able to do here as well.
Performance.
For example, if I go to the output menu, for example, so if I press O, now that we've given that access, and then if I press Alt-Shift-N, which is the keystroke, I've a little script I've done here.
Context menu, O, off, O, DI low, DI high, stack, F.
This has actually brought up I think it's the monitor outputs menu.
Mod left, mod mono, mod stereo, master left, master mono check, master stereo.
Yeah, master mono is checked here, I can see that.
Leaving menu.
And then if I do Alt-Shift-A, again in this window, this is another little script that I've done here.
Context menu, O, off, DLY, master stereo checked.
Master stereo, this is the main output window.
Leaving menu.
The one I couldn't find in here, and that there might be a reason for that, but it wasn't the end of the world, was I couldn't find the one for the I think it's the send, because I think you can you can set that up as a DI, which I've done here actually. So if I'm going to record, I can then do that, but it didn't matter because I could do it on the unit, and I know which buttons on the unit control what when I'm doing that. Anyway, I think I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, there was the other thing was I can open rigs in a separate window. I've got a keystroke to do that, which is fine. But again, when I'm left arrowing and right arrowing across the rigs, they don't really speak properly. So again, it sounds like the properties have not been labeled, because the screen reader would pick those up if they were labeled. I have a keystroke to sort by, but again, if I do Control A to select all, rigs, for example, if I'm in rig mode, then pressing Control Alt, I think it's Control Shift R, is it?
Context menu.
Yeah, Control Shift R.
Drop down submenu. Number. Name.
Name.
Date. D. Author. Comment. C. Tempo. T. Key. K. Tonality. Slot 1 name. Slot 2 name. Slot 3 name. S. Slot 4 name. S. Slot 5 name. S. Show all columns. Reset column layout. Use as default for new libraries of this type. Number. Name.
And again, so yeah, I mean, a keystroke for that would be useful as well. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's probably enough for you to be going on with now. As I say, I'd be very happy to sit down with you and, try and help you make this work better. But I'm really pleased that we've, I've got it to this point, because I can now essentially do pretty much everything on here between this and the unit. The only thing I couldn't really do on the stage was set up Wi-Fi. Because that's a bit fiddly, and we did have a look at it. My wife and I had a look at it, and that looked a little bit fiddly to me. And I did try the WPA pin thing, and that didn't work. But again, there might be ways around that. I'm quite surprised in some ways that people, developers that do things for companies haven't gone with web interfaces, because I would have thought that'd be a lot less work. But that said, I'm very happy with Rig Manager, and certainly on Windows, and it will be the same on Mac, because essentially you get the same kind of results. Obviously somebody would need to knock something up in Keyboard Maestro or whatever to make that work. Then yeah, you'd be able to achieve the same thing. So that's really good.
New speech display check speed.
Anyway, thank you for watching, and hopefully we can get more of a discussion going on improving accessibility. And for anybody who is watching this who is totally blind, I will be doing separate videos showing how this works in sort of more detail. I just wanted to do a bit of a rough breakdown here for the guys from Kemper to give them an idea of where we are at. Thank you for watching.